back, listeners, to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast coming to you live from South St. Louis, Columbo's Cafe and Tavern. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
With us is Chief Joe Spees.
Hi, y'all.
Welcome. Hey, it's good to be back from our Naples studio in Cicadas, Naples, Florida.
Danny, I got to give you credit. A little bit. They are kind of a nuisance,
Kind of a nuisance.
but they're not chainsaw material. Is that kind of giving you credence a little bit?
Well, so are you acknowledging them as being...
I still don't like the conversation. They're not. I don't find them annoying. I find them kind of soothing when I'm out there with my dog in the yard. But they are loud. But they're no chainsaw loud.
Well, your listener friend, Sally,
Uh-oh.
she's not going to appreciate us talking about them.
100%.
But we are, you know. Hey, Tommy, you know what? The reason they are so loud, the cicadas making the noise are the male cicadas. Okay?
They're horny.
And they are, exactly. They are horny, and they are calling out to the female cicadas, which I think causes a little bit of a quagmire because, first of all, there's a trillion of them. And so they're all yelling and making their cicada noise at the same time. So if you're a female cicada, you know, down the road on a palm tree, not a palm tree, but on a pine tree or whatever they sit, how do you know, like, which one to go to? Which voice turns you on?
I made this recording today in my backyard. It's John Cicada.
No, John. No, this is an insect.
What? All these weeks we've been talking about insect.
Yes, this is a bug, a flying bug.
Dude,
It's not John Cicada.
Hey, Danny, I was told that
You guys got me
if
on
I
this
gave you a
stuff.
little bit of credit, we would be the last podcast we talk about them.
Okay, but listen. Let me say, you're barking out. You're a cicada, and you're a male, and you're making this noise. So a female cicada likes the noise that you're putting out. Do you just have to take that one? No discretion?
They all look alike.
That's what they say about us humans.
They're blind, dude.
They're not.
Where'd you get that in?
Where-
How'd you get that?
I think they are.
They have big eyes.
I think it's from personal experience because I was cutting my.
You didn't even stick to your guns.
Hold on a second.
They're blind.
Hold on a
they?
second. But
He acted like he
I
knew,
believe
though.
I'm cutting my.
Dude, they're not blind. They have big red eyes.
I'm cutting my grandfather's grass the other day, or not my grandfather, my father-in-law. I'm cutting my father-in-law's grass, and he's got a large tree in the front of his yard, and this thing is full of cicadas and loud as can be. Well, they were also coming up out of the ground, so as I'm going along and they're coming up out of the ground, they're going to the lawnmower, they're trying to get on the wheels, flying all over the place. Well, and I went under the tree. I hit a branch, and these bastards were coming from everywhere. And they were dive bombing, and there's no way if you can see that you would fly the way they fly. They're like the Mr. Magoo.
This is his
bugs.
study. This is a
You
scientific
know what I
study.
find most amazing about this whole story?
What?
Yes.
Is you were actually cutting grass.
For somebody else.
He's helping out.
I
For
kind
some-
of think
for
it's
somebody
bullshit.
else.
I think it's bullshit.
But if he would have had a ring bell, I would have went in and got the recorder.
Dude, they got big red eyes. Why would they get big red eyes if they can't see through them?
They can't see. I'm telling you, they can't see. They wouldn't fly into your head that hard.
Well, then,
That's a-
Fly to bang.
that's the dumbest philosophy I've ever heard. They were
It's
pissed off at
ridiculous.
you. For
Armadillos
stirring
have
them up.
eyes, and they're blind.
Like a,
armadillos have
I'm
eyes.
telling you
and
right
they're
now,
blind?
they're blind. They don't.
Could I
just,
He's throwing out some knowledge. You hear this shit?
what did he just say?
He said armadillos have eyes and they're blind.
Could I ask you a quick question?
Yes, grasshopper. Go ahead.
You guys went out and made
Grasshoppers.
you made a big deal out of the eclipse, and you even did a show during the eclipse. Which
True
was-
that.
was- why are you afraid of the cicadas? Why no outdoor cicada show?
Slightly afraid, but also I'm surrounded by non-believers, non-scientific believers.
Well,
JJ doesn't
right.
believe in cicadas. Tommy doesn't believe in the eclipse. Producer John doesn't believe in climate change.
Hey, can I want to get us off the subject because I got a Danny story that just came to mind because he just said something. Danny was the night chief. I don't even remember this, but Danny was responsible for the entire city. I'm working nights. Call came out for a shooting, and it was a good one. It was a police shooting. It was chaotic. So I don't hear him getting on the air. So I call him. I say, "Hey, dude, there's a shooting down, and I think it was in the 6th district." And you go, "Ooh, thanks, Grasshopper." Next thing you know,
heads up.
yeah. Next thing you know, he's on the air, giving his call letters out.
Well, I always loved being the night chief because I think it was a useless position, and I think it was punishment by a certain chief that we didn't get along. But that's another story. But
no, your response was, "Ooh, thanks, Grasshopper."
Do you guys ever have the frog issue?
I have a frog issue. Neighbor has a pool that
Those things. We had a pool in our yard. They're equally annoying as the cicadas.
and they last for longer than 30 days. 'Cause the
Oh,
cicadas are
they
only 30
use that
days.
as a mating call also. And these things are loud. And then they will get together. And at least they're off schedule.
Can they see?
Yeah,
All these
are
guys
they
can
blind
see.
too?
Oh, they're diabolical. So because like you'll go out and try to shut them up, and they'll shit. Like if you get close to them, they'll be quiet real quick, and then you're like, all right, I shut them up. Then you go back in, and then right when you sit down, you light up a cigarette. That mother,
That's
and
unbelievable.
loud as hell.
Yeah.
And then they also, I'm almost positive, just like the cicadas are blind, these frogs can throw their voice, throw their croaks.
Throw
Like
their
they-
croaks.
Right.
been
So they
trouble
can, like, if you go over and you're like, all right, I know one's right here, and you start rattling shit to make them shut up,
Yeah.
they're like 35 feet away, just making it look like they're croaks over there.
Is this a National Geographic podcast?
It seems like it.
I observe shit. I got that sun porch out back, so I observe a lot of insect activity.
Is there any way we can get a video of you out there messing with these frogs? That
No, I do like the fawn. You remember the fawns back in the day, in the happy days when
Oh,
he was
yeah.
in the wilderness?
Or
and
the
stuff?
fawns.
Jack does it.
Yeah, Jack doesn't. Yeah. And he just came out. Hey,
video,
And all these-
Jack. Do you know
I
Arthur
remember
Fonzarelli?
I remember that one.
You do not-
He's laying in the woods.
yeah.
What are we gonna do?
He says, "Cool it." Go ahead.
Is that what he said?
Cool it.
He did all that.
That's unbelievable. Hey, Tommy, you have these fear of flying.
Mm-hmm.
A flight from, I believe it was London to Singapore, had severe turbulence that lasted for 2 solid minutes. The plane during the turbulence fell a mile of altitude down. One person died, like 10 injured. There was like dents in the overhead storage things and this and that for people who didn't have their seatbelts on, this and that.
Big mistake.
Holy cow.
Dude, that's why
Hey,
they fly.
Nadia wasn't on that plane, was she? One of our
Could've-
listeners.
Our Singapore listener.
Singapore. John, have you heard from the Singapore listener?
Not since that day.
We're down a country.
Down, man.
Oh, you better call her, John. Make sure she's all right. Or he.
Yeah,
That's horrible.
I will follow up definitely.
We're here at Columbo's Cafe and Tavern, and we film our podcast on Thursdays, and also on Thursdays, Greg and Ryan Columbo used to play rugby, like they said, for the St. Louis Bombers, and every Thursday the Bombers team comes after their games or practices and has a few cocktails and pizzas upstairs. They won the national championship
Last week.
last week.
Damn right they did. They're a
Well,
little extra
if-
loud tonight.
If you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
get quiet and listen, you can hear them upstairs right now.
They're moving chairs around. They're
Yeah,
squeaky.
they're happy. But I
Yep.
mean, a group of athlete gentlemen that are just unbelievable.
Great guys over the years.
Over the years,
Just-
we've known
yeah.
them. They get along well with law enforcement. Congratulations.
Yes,
Congratulations.
congratulations to the Bombers, baby.
They changed their names tonight to the Cicadas. 'cause
The
they're so
cicadas,
loud.
the St. Louis cicadas.
Hey.
Cicada bombers.
They're kind of
Cicadas,
loud.
they are bombers. Go hit a tree. Go hit a branch. And
They are
Oh,
ugly.
John, it's the insect cicada.
They are. They are ugly. They are ugly creatures, though. That's for sure.
So is John Cicada.
He's an ugly creature.
Hey, John, is the spelling the same on that last name? Do you know?
No,
right.
but phonetically it's the same.
Yes, and we're sticking with that.
Right.
Oh my God. Hey, producer
Tell 'em
John,
they're
I got
blind.
I got a text message. You're making an impact on people. I got a text message the other day from Ryan Columbo that said he was shopping for some tennis shoes, and he was going down the aisle and he ran through like the New Balance aisle, and extra wide, size 15, and he couldn't help but thinking about you. And
He called me for some recommendations. I steered him in the right direction.
for New Balance canoes.
Yes.
Socks.
All right. I got you. JJ, I had a terrible nightmare the other day.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. I want to interrupt.
He's on
Cicadas are not blind. Not only are they not blind, they have 5 eyes.
Where'd that come? Where's Huggy?
They have 5 eyes.
Huggy just sent this to him.
Oh.
2 compound eyes and 3 ocelli eyes. We believe to detect light and darkness.
They just didn't like you.
They have 5 eyes.
5.
And Tommy comes out strong. No, cicadas are blind. They have 5 eyes.
They
I
can
want
see for
to hear
25
about
miles.
your nightmare dream.
I had a terrible dream that we're doing this podcast, and I had
A lot of people have had that nightmare.
Some of them are awake right now thinking, God damn, I feel you.
I was wearing a white, nasty old tank top with holes in it, long ass neck, scrawny legs, and a slight beer belly for all people to see.
Really?
Yeah, and so ever since I had this nightmare, I've hit the gym every single day.
Producer Dean.
Where'd you go to?
Well, I go into the Y, and I went to the head trainer at the Y. I said, "You got to help me with this.
There's-
Can you help me with the neck and everything?"
No, you should have. You went to the wrong guy.
What do you mean? I went to the head trainer.
Yeah, you should went to the neck guy.
There's no neck,
neck
trainer.
trainer.
Do they have
There's
that?
a neck trainer at the Y.
Yeah, you start doing neck exercises and shit.
No, but I had that nightmare, and I'm taking proactive action.
Working on your neck. I like it. No, that's a shame because you're built like a stud. Put together like a Adonis.
Hey, remember back in the day they had that 300-pound club. You get a T-shirt.
I got it.
I was in there.
I know you were.
I was up in
I
there.
couldn't believe. I was impressed.
Yeah, thank you. Producer John, you sitting on anything over there? Newsroom.com.
Oh, I didn't understand the question.
Hey, because I insulted you, you're skipping my Zen.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's do Zen first. It just works better that way.
It does?
He's forgetting about me.
What do you got for JJ Zen?
I have one from Kevin Klupe, a former police officer, good
Cat
friend,
Loopy?
The Cap.
good friend of John's.
Cap was he was a liquor agent and he worked for the sheriff's department.
Oh, okay.
Show sponsor.
And he's a show sponsor and he's one of our biggest fans.
Oh, good. I don't know if I've met him, but good times create weak people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times create strong people. Strong people create good times.
Circle of life.
That's a circle of life. Hold on a second now.
That's a tough one to re-say.
I know, but you did it without even reading anything.
Yeah, I'm getting good.
All right.
Do it again?
Yeah.
Do I need to do it again?
Yeah.
I just went outside. That was tough to follow.
Yeah, come on.
All right, let's go slow.
Yeah, please.
Good times create weak people.
Right?
Weak people create bad times. Bad times create strong people. Strong people create good times.
The cycle.
It's
The
a cycle.
cycle.
Yep.
We're living it.
Yes, we are.
We are.
We're in weak time. Well, I don't want to get political. Disregard that.
Go ahead.
We're in bad times. And weak people.
You know who created good times? Norman Lear.
I thought it was J.J. Walker.
J.J. Walker.
started.
Dynamite.
That was from Tony Robbins, though. Those that want to know, that was not Kevin. He didn't create that one, but he suggested it, and I think it was a good one. And keep giving some more if he gets another.
No, it's time. What do you got for us? Newsroom.com by producer John.
All right, this one was suggested by another farmer guest and the show favorite is Ron Klyer sent this the original article. It pertains to another listener who listens all the time, Jim Molden. His grandfather is involved in this case at the end. So, and Jimmy was a great policeman. He was in scat with Ron for a long time. But it's a pretty bizarre case. But okay, here's this is from like 1914, so we're going back again.
Again, 1914, 1914,
An active year.
1924.
That was a good year. I want to go
Yeah.
back. All right. Policeman fatally wounds man in row. And a row, I guess, is a
House.
fight or whatever. You know, he was struck by 4 bullets. And here, these are all the little sub headlines. Patrolman Thomas Humphrey is arrested and declares that he fired in self-defense. So Humphrey was a probationary police officer, but he's like 32 years old. But he initially got fired for this incident because they said that he was accused of being drunk when it happened. It was like 2 a.m. It happened down in what's now the Grove, like in the 4100 block of Manchester. So anyway, the victim was Daniel Guy, who was a city ambulance driver. Was shot 4 times and fatally wounded following the saloon row at 2 o'clock this morning on the sidewalk in front of George Kriegshauser Undertaking and Embalming Company. So he gets shot right in front of the mortuary.
Was it on Kings Highway, South Kings Highway?
No,
Manchester.
It was on Manchester. So, probationary patrolman Humphrey of the Central District, who fired the shots, was arrested and taken to the 4 courts, which I guess was the police courts back then, where he admitted to the shooting but stated he fired in self-defense. The men were in a saloon conducted by John McVeigh at Sarah and Shoto, where they quarreled. They left the place still quarreling, and a short time later, Guy was shot. Sergeant Burns and Patrolman White of the 7th District heard the shots, and when they reached the scene, they found Guy stretched out on the sidewalk. They arrested Humphrey, who allegedly was drinking. Guy was carried to the undertaking room until an ambulance arrived. So here's a guy gets shot. He's an ambulance driver. They take him to the mortuary before they take him to the hospital. And he's waiting at the mortuary for the ambulance, probably one of his friends, to come pick him up and then drive him to the hospital from the mortuary, where he ended up dying anyway.
So he went back to the mortuary.
Right.
Should have stayed.
The sequence is all messed up. So, let's see. Guy stated to Patrolman White before he died he did not know how he was shot. Humphrey told police that he attempted to arrest Guy and a private watchman shortly after leaving the saloon, but they resisted. Humphrey stated he drew his revolver, fired once in the air, and then lost control of himself and shot to kill. Humphrey was not on duty at the time. So anyway, it's a pretty bizarre kind of thing there, but.
What do you think ambulances looked like back in
I was
1914?
thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a horse?
Wagon?
Yeah, was it drugged by a horse?
He don't know the answer.
I don't
Stump.
know.
I stumped his ass right there.
Stump. Do you think Humphrey's bar
I'll do
was
some
named
research
after
and
that?
get back to you. So then the second part of this article, they said another shooting recalled. Ambulance driver Guy figured in another shooting.
Hurry up.
Washington Avenue near Broadway 6 months ago.
I wonder if cicadas are blind.
James Crowell, then
Jesus Christ.
was dismissed from the force.
I want to poke myself in the eye right now.
Them on the street. Guy attacked Crowell, striking him in the face and firing 2 shots at him, neither which took effect. And then the chief of detectives, William Desmond, got involved, and
Starting to make sense.
and the policeman got fired.
And Molden's, one of these is Molden's grandpa?
It's over a woman, wife.
Well, his wife, this patrolman Crowell was with the ambulance guy's wife 6 months earlier. So anyway, here's where the Jim Molden's grandfather gets involved.
It's been a long road.
This isn't bizarre enough. So
This is
It's been a
newsroom.com. This is
road.
this is all the news.
All from 1914,
He needs his own-
everything.
He needs his own podcast.
Jim's grandfather, August Molden, and Albert White, who was in the first article, they were brought up on charges because there were witnesses that said that this Humphrey guy was drunk and that these other 2 officers should have arrested him before the shooting. You know,
And it wouldn't have happened if they would have got him when he was drunk. And
So so they were drug into this police court, and officers White and Molden were exonerated after they came up with like 12 witnesses that said that they didn't see Humphrey drinking, and so Humphrey ended up losing his job.
Opening up a bar down in
Yeah.
Slough.
Now the funny part about this is Clyer sends me this, and about Molden's grandfather, and he said, I always wonder why Jimmy didn't like ambulance drivers.
Now he knows.
So anyway, very bizarre story from 1914, and I think I'm going to stay in 1914 for a few more weeks.
Yeah,
just 'cause it's
That's a hell of a year.
Okay, so you don't have a newsroom.com tonight. Okay.
anybody
He stumped him.
anybody who's listening, let me know if you thought that was an interesting story or
Give him his
not.
own podcast.
Or do you want to hear about cicadas and fucking frogs the rest of the night? Let me know, and I'll read National Geographic before I come on.
Ask Clara to send us chapter 17 of War and Peace next week.
You guys have no appreciation for the police work.
Now you know how I feel, John.
Absolutely, JJ.
Just no respect.
Oh, shit. Tommy, what do we got tonight?
No, I heard a good one though.
Uh-oh.
About a guy that cheated. Remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
So, and the guy cheated on that. How do you cheat on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? They sit there and ask questions, right? So the story goes is that this guy had like really smart relatives too. So they sat in the audience, and what the guy did was every time there was a question asked, he would read every one of he would like read the question real quick and then read every one of the answers. And if one of his family members knew the answer, they would like cough or make a noise. And
At the time he made A,
right
B,
when
C,
he
or
when
D.
he would say the answer, they would cough or make a noise, and then he has them winning $1 million. And then they went back and reviewed the tape, and they took that shit away from him.
That's bullshit. 'Cause he's
Sounds like
clever.
the Houston
That was a
Astros.
good plan, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like the
Pretty good
Astros.
plan.
His
When the
family
Astros
was
are beat.
punished for having allergies.
Smart allergies.
Smart allergies.
I think for his creativity, he should be able to keep it.
I thought that was an interesting story. That just caught my attention. That's all.
I didn't hear that.
Cut that
I
out,
like
Jack.
Right.
Did that happen in 1914?
It was in 1914.
No. Molden's dad Molden's grandfather had nothing to do
It
with
was a
it.
different show. Is it? Who wants to have $100? That was the
Exactly.
show in
With inflation and everything.
Hey, you know who else likes to sponsor us or has sponsored us and likes us? Good fan, Corby Campbell.
Corby Campbell.
Campbell Security Group. They can be reached at campbellsecuritygroup.com, or the phone number is 314-499-1121. And I saw a story that I thought of Corby today. There was recently a workplace violence incident up in right around Philadelphia. And when those kind of things happen, that's the kind of thing that Campbell Security Group can help you with. Get through that with if you need some security or you need a plan. And Joe, you've been in workplace violence incidents, and that's something that companies need to pay attention to. Would you agree with that?
No doubt. Call Corby. He'll help you.
Damn right. 314-499-1121.
Hey, I got
In your
another-
expertise with workplace violence, how would you handle a situation where somebody throws out a newsroom.com like that, like here? Like, what would you do here to keep me from coming across that table?
Well,
Shit.
it's
Producer
not-
John controls all the knobs on this thing, so.
Hey,
Somebody's
Producer
about to get
John?
shut down.
All right, guys, I'm going to go over this story one more time. Because I think I left out a few details.
You just fast forward real quick.
My mic's off.
Oh,
And
God.
George Krieghauser got in trouble because he vouched for this other guy at some point.
Actually, we may have to cut that.
Mic's out.
Mike's out
turned
too.
us all off.
I'm not sure Mike.
You did take
What's
us
up?
off. You know,
I've
take us off.
hijacked the whole show
you should have.
because you guys are being rude.
Jack, I don't hear my mic at all. You guys hear
He
me?
turned us all off.
He turned us all off.
Oh, motherfucker.
I'm back.
He turned us off.
I haven't heard my mic on for a while. I've been known to get my mic turned off, though.
He's the boss.
Hello?
Producer
I should
John
have turned
turned us all off.
I should not have turned JJ off.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was
did
thinking-
what we-
Definitely need to be.
Right.
Me? What did I do?
You were chipping in.
Can you turn it back on?
Producer John got sassy.
I like it.
Hey, producer John, you'd have been
Well-
better off punching Howard than turning his mic off. You know what?
Oh, that was
Came
fun.
across my mind.
Hey, I got a question though.
I think we
Tom.
need to release that story like on its own and just like give us a little snippet and have people go listen to it. If you need to hear the story, you need to go listen to it. It'll make this funny, just a lot funnier.
It'll be Ron Clyer and Dennis, and
Yeah.
only two people that are not going to listen.
That is
Molden.
actually-
And Molden.
Hey, that's it, Tommy. That's a good idea, actually.
All right, what's your question, Grasshopper?
I want to know why Chief Speece is sitting next to me. What's his role here today? Other than
His role here today is to evaluate the newsroom.com on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's his immediate role.
11.
Oh, Lord.
That's
Oh,
good,
thank
huh?
you, Joe.
his
That
mic
was-
stays on.
His mic stay on.
All right. That one's staying on.
That was staying on. Oh, jeez. Tommy, who we got coming on now?
No, we got two stories tonight. Ron Martin. You guys heard Ron was involved with Steve James last week, part of the Producer John segment. And we're going to make that a monthly or, you know, when Producer John gets to it. John, talk a little bit about that.
No.
Make it quick though.
Don't mope.
Speed read that shit.
You guys started.
That's wrong, John. That's
You
wrong.
turned off again.
JJ didn't turn our mics off when his Zen sucked.
I have no control of that. I like his style though.
No, but Ron Martin and Steve James, have agreed to come on from time to time. We're going to update. We're trying to really help promote Steve's career as an artist, and then bring these stories, because unfortunately there's going to be more victims of violence. There's going to be more people who, not at Steve's stories out there. There's going to be people who really want a portrait or some kind of memento. So we're going to keep up on it, and both of them are very happy to come back on and update us.
And John, one of our listeners has actually ordered a picture from him, correct?
Yes, I don't know if they've been put in touch with each other, but one of our best listeners, Mary Michelle, has reached out to Steve and about maybe getting something done. So, email us at the Brighter Side of Blue.
And I want to and Ron's our next interview here. Ron he's just a guy with a great heart, and he always has had a big heart. He's just one of those guys that when you saw him, and we'll talk a little bit about Ron after the interview too. But I know John wanted to say some nice things and has said some nice things about Ron, and really wants to sum that up after this interview with Ron.
But
And
Tom,
Ron, go ahead.
before you stop, I want one question before you go there. Go ahead, finish it.
No.
I just want to say so we've had two guests, Trooper, Major Ron Martin, and he brought us Steve James, that's honoring the victims of homicides through paintings. And then during the eclipse, we had Sergeant Brian McGlynn on. And you asked him a really good question at the end, and he said, "Hey, this has not been about me. My chapter of life is next, my final chapter." He said, "But over the years, all these victims, they're real people with real families, and that's what tore them up. Mm-hmm. Now you got Trooper doing the same thing, and so I love the compassionate side of law enforcement. Right. These homicide detectives, not only do they put the bad guy in jail, but it affects them, man." It really affects them. So I just love this story, Producer John. So much better than your newsroom.com tonight.
Right. So I don't know how we're going to release that newsroom.com. We're going to have
Jesus.
We're going to have to finagle some. We're going to have to do some bartering here.
Just release it.
You can't hit home. Hey, John, you can't hit home runs every time.
No, you can't.
Impossible.
Is Producer Jack a magician?
He's got to be. He's got to be.
He tries.
He's got to be. Yeah.
He tries. But no, with this interview with Ron Martin, he just goes through, grew up in a police family. And he talks about the murder of Officer Langsdorf, Michael Langsdorf.
Yep. It's pretty powerful.
And it was pretty powerful. And we'll be back to wrap it up after the interview. Enjoy. Today's interview, we are joined by Ron Martin. And Ron's been AKA the Trooper, been mentioned in several shows.
Yeah.
He's
here to defend himself for all the stories we've told about him already.
I was quite surprised it took me 23 episodes to get on here to defend myself.
That's okay. I like it. And then
You're here now.
I'm here.
So, Troop, give us some background. Tell people where you started and where you are now.
Wow, it's been a good run. How early do you want to start? When I was about 6?
No. Well, let's speed
I
it
think
up.
that's important.
Start with housing.
I got to start with the 6-year-old story, and then we'll go to housing.
Okay.
So, my grandfather, Bert Qualls, was a St. Louis Metropolitan Police officer for 25 years.
Legendary guy.
And my uncle, Billy the Blues Man Qualls, was a St. Louis Metropolitan Police officer for 24 years.
Another legendary guy.
Some of those were cadet years. But when I was 6 years old, all I wanted to do was be like them. They were my idols. I lived in their shadows as a kid, and I wanted to be a St. Louis police. I didn't want to be a municipal officer. I didn't want any of that. I wanted to be a St. Louis police officer because of my family. When I was about 6, Grandpa bought me a little motorcycle, little Honda Z50R, and we lived in the Bottoms in Chesterfield. Grandpa raised me, by the way, Grandpa and Grandma, and I would ride the little. This was like 1979, and that's when Chips was the hot show, and so. Even though I wanted to be a St. Louis police officer, I wanted to be Poncherello too. So I would go flying through the tomato patch.
Jack, you know who Poncherello is?
And I'd be chasing squirrels, and I'm in hot pursuit, and I'd run around the house. And then one day I ran into the air conditioner and knocked it all. And my grandpa comes running out of the house. What are you doing? But he built me like a police station inside the garage. And I'm sure everybody remembers the police pen, the St. Louis Police Department black pen, the greatest pen ever made.
Lipic.
Yeah,
man, I had 300 of them in a coffee cup, and I would write reports at 6 years old, and Grandpa would approve. I mean, I was sick.
Oh, jeez.
But that's what I wanted to be.
Real cops and robbers.
You know what we call those pens?
The only thing I agree. What I really like what he said is he wanted to be the police, so he wanted to be St. Louis City Police.
Yeah,
That's
If
what
you
I
want to be
wanted.
the police officer and young kid, come on. I'm just saying, if you want to do the real job, come to the city, right?
Absolutely.
There you go. That's my promotion to the.
Just alienated all the municipal officers.
I don't care. I don't care.
I have a defense for the municipal officers too,
There you go.
because I am a municipal officer now, and sometimes the grass isn't as green. And
But you're not
the other
exactly
side.
in a Candyland.
No, there's some difficulties sometimes, but we work through it. I think in 2001, Joe Mokel became chief of police for the St.
City?
Louis Police Department.
Yep.
Great chief, one of the best we ever had. And I applied again, and now I had about 3 years' experience as a police officer from Ferguson, and I was accepted. And I entered the Retread Academy with 11 other officers. And that was in 2002. And then shortly after that, my greatest assignment that I have ever had in my entire 25-year law enforcement career, Lieutenant Jerry Larry Schock at that time and Sergeant John Frank found it in their hearts to bring me to the housing unit. I spent 3 years in housing. I went down there in 2003, and I made it almost 3 years, left in 2005. A lot of good stories. I would say 80% of my police stories, we all have them, come from housing.
Yep.
And I have one that I'd like to share with you all.
You go right ahead.
I'm sure we all... there's an individual, his name is Charles Crawford. I don't know if Charles is still living, but to give you a visual of Charles, he looks just like Raj from What's Happening Now with the glasses and the tape around him. And in housing, one of the go-to charges was the state trespassing charges. And let me tell you something. Those trespassing first charges were deadlier than catching a guy with gun and dope. You catch them with gun and dope, they get an SIS for 3 years. You catch them on a trespassing first, they put you in the workhouse for a year. It cleaned the housing projects up
Yeah, almost immediately. Yep.
And that was the go-to charge. And it was good for having probable cause. When you're arresting a guy for trespassing, you got your search incident to arrest, you got it, and that's how you find your guns and dope. So it was a fabulous charge. But anyway, this was Charles Crawford. He was a persistent trespasser, and this guy loved the Cochrans and he loved the Peabodys.
Charles was a part-time Sunday maker at the Dairy Queen on Broadway in Soulard. And he would always have a Dairy Queen shirt on and would have every topping on: strawberry, marshmallow, you name it, pineapple coming out, and that's what Charles did. He'd sleep in the hallways in the Cochrane. Well, Tommy Favazza and I one morning were doing a foot patrol in the Cochranes, and we're in the Can of Corn building.
Yep.
We're at 10th floor, 11th floor. Elevators weren't working, so we had to take the steps. That was terrible. It took me about
the Can
2
of
packs
Corn
of-
building was named because, like, the first week we were in the Cochranes, we were handling some kind of disturbance, in the parking lot, and somebody threw a can of corn down at us, and
That hurt.
instead of like running away or like whatever they thought we were going to do, we got the whole unit down there and we knocked on doors till we finally went to an apartment, and with 18 policemen standing there, they said, "He's the guy that threw the corn." so he got locked up. But
Yeah.
it was always the Can of Corn building after
Yeah,
that.
that's where we're at. 1208.
Good explanation, because I was lost on the Can
That
of
was
Corn
good.
building.
I like it.
1118 North 18th something, I don't know.
All right, finish your story with it.
So Charles Crawford, we get Charles Crawford on a trespassing. We're doing a walkthrough at 10 a.m. He's sleeping in the hallway. Guy can't be here, And long story short, it goes to trial. I'm sure things have changed now. I left the police department, the city police, in 2011. But back then, the misdemeanor trials went to Division 26. Division 26, you'd catch a subpoena for 2 p.m. That's when they started the call docket. And they're 40, 50, 60 cases deep. And by the time you go through the call docket and by the time you call it a second time, it's freaking 4 or 5 o'clock. I mean, it's your whole day. Well, Charles Crawford in the courtroom, glasses taped up, Dairy Queen shirt on, strawberry, marshmallow, pineapple. His name is called. I think it was Judge Stelzer. Judge Stelzer goes, Charles Crawford, he comes up and he says, Mr. Crawford, your case is coming up. How would you like to proceed? Do you want a bench trial or do you want a jury trial? And Charles says, Judge, I got to be at work at 3 o'clock. He goes, but I'll have one of them. And Judge Stelzer goes, one of what? He says, yeah, one of them. I said, well, he goes, do you want a bench trial? And then he explains, jury, bench. He's like, yeah, I'll take one of them. He's like, okay, you want a bench trial? Yeah, one of them. So we're going to have a bench trial. Now, about 2:30, 3 o'clock. By the time they get through the whole docket and they get everything, it is 6 o'clock at night, and we are going to trial for a trespassing first misdemeanor charge with Charles Crawford acting as his own defense attorney.
Yes, I love
Here we go.
that.
Now, mind you, Charles was armed with a Samsonite briefcase. And in this briefcase, there must have been about 100 pages of documents. And as he makes it to the defense table, he opens up the briefcase and he's just putting papers out. Got them all over the defense table. They're calling us in to testify. It's me and Tommy Favazza. The prosecutor, the circuit attorney, goes through the motions and we testify. And he's a frequent trespasser. He knows about not being there and blah, blah, blah. And we get done within about 30 minutes. The Judge Stelzer goes, okay, the prosecution says, we rest. He goes, okay, Mr. Crawford, it's, defense's turn. Shit you not. This is what Mr. Crawford does. No further questions. One of the
all he
biggest
said
waste of taxpayers' money in the city of St. Louis, Mr. Crawford defended himself and went through that whole rigmarole just for him to not ask any questions.
Well, I'm surprised he didn't fall asleep because he's always sleeping in the complexes. So
He was.
Did he have his Dairy Queen shirt on
He did have the Dairy Queen shirt on.
for the trial?
Yes.
Okay.
was
At
all
least he
the
was
same
in the
day.
same clothing. You might as well wear the evidence.
We walked out of that courthouse, I would say at 7:30 at night.
I'm telling you, there's nothing better than people defending themselves in court.
But it was a heck of an overtime week.
One of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about, Troop, and it's not, not a pleasant subject, but it's something that affected you in a deep way, and you had a lot to do with the case, and he was a friend of yours, but it was the death of Michael Langsdorf, and he was working for you at the time. And just let everybody know, a little bit about Mike, how you guys were close, and a little bit about what happened and the investigation and how you guys cleaned that up.
Yeah, that was, you want to talk about a tough day. It's been it'll be 5 years, June 23rd. I think the majority of the police officers in the city knew Mike. Mike was a worker. Mike and I, Mike was in the academy when I was retreading. And his DSN was a little lower than mine, but there was guys already in there for the 6-month thing, and I got a little higher DSN, but we were both sent to the 3rd District. And we worked, and that's where we were partners at. And we worked for Captain Dan Rectine, rest in peace, Cap. I know Dan passed away. Joachim Stoller was the commander of South Patrol at the time. He was a major. And Mike and I rode the same car together. We were in McCree which I think that's the 9th now. I don't know. That doesn't even exist.
No.
Whatever that is. Anyway, so I had a connection with Mike. He was my friend, and we got to work together. I ended up going to housing, and Mike ended up going his own way, and then you know, I went to Afghanistan. I left the department. We still stayed in touch. I became the assistant chief of police of the North County Police Cooperative in September of 2018.
Okay.
And Mike was hired about November or December of 2018. Maybe January 2019. Anyway, long story short, Mike came to work for us. It was Sunday. It was 4:30 p.m. It was June 23rd, 2019. I was at my fiance's family's house, and then my phone rang from the on-duty lieutenant. I answered it, and he said, Major, Mike's been shot. And I said, where are you at? And he said, we're at the Wellston Food Market in Wellston. It's at Stephen Jones and Page, right, real close to the city county line. And I didn't ask any more questions. I didn't ask anything, and I just got in the car and I went there. And while I was there, I received several phone calls that it wasn't good.
Right.
When I got to the scene, hundreds of policemen, big 8 call, and I was jello. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what oversight to give. I was mush. I've never been like that. I've always been able to make a decision. I've always been able to do my job. And when I got there, I couldn't do it. So I made the decision to go to the hospital. I went to the hospital, and that's when they let us know he didn't make it. And talked with Mike's mom and his dad and his kids and his girlfriend. And it was the worst day of my police career ever. And sometimes I think to myself, if I never would have made those calls to Mike to say, hey, you know, you'll have a home here, he'd still be here.
Can't think like that, though.
It's tough. I don't think the video was ever released, and I'm glad that it wasn't. I know that a portion of it was being live streamed by an employee at the store, but the shooting part was not. And all I can tell, and this case, by the way, went to trial about 2 years ago. And you want to talk about being nerve-wracking? That was another.
Can you set up how it went down just a little bit?
How Mike got killed?
Just
absolutely
briefly, don't get too deep, but just how it went down.
Mike got a call for somebody trying to pass a stolen check. There was a guy there. The check, it's stolen. He's trying to pass it. Mike went in. When Mike went into the store, you know, he's in uniform. The guy sees him, and he starts walking out. The bad guy. The bad guy's name is Bonet Meeks. And Bonet just came in town from North Carolina. He was born in St. Louis, but he went to North Carolina to live with his grandmother, and he had been in North Carolina for quite a while. When Mr. Meeks started walking out the store owner pointed at him and said, that's the guy. That's the guy. So Mike, hey man, come here. That set off a struggle. And they went to the ground. Mike was on top of him. Mr. Meeks was on his back. Mike was on top of him. And the entire time, this speaks volume about Mike. He's calm, he's cool, and he's collected. And he's got the guy's arms behind him on the floor. He's got him pinned, and he's going, hey, dude. He's just like, calm down. Calm down, man. It's okay. Just calm down. Stop fighting. Just like that. Mike had his mic on his chest. And as he had both of his hands on Mr. Meeks's hands. Mike lifted up his left hand to get to his radio. And so Mike's in an active resisting, and this is how he radios. Whatever his call sign was, 620s, I need an assist car to the market. Like that calm. Nobody would assume this, he's in a struggle. Nobody would assume he's fighting with somebody. As he lifted that hand to reach his mic, that's when Mr. Meeks, and you can see it on video, reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out a pistol, and he hits Mike on the head with it, and it kind of stuns Mike, and Mike gets up. Meeks stands up, has every opportunity to run out the door, has every opportunity to go. If that man leaves that store, we never find him again. He goes back to North Carolina, no harm, no foul. But he makes a decision to stop, turn, and he put that gun to the back of Mike's head. As Mike sees he has a gun, and Mike is on all fours, and he lunges towards the gun. And as he's pointing it at the back of his head, he pulls the trigger, and it hit Mike in his neck. And Mike dropped. And that was it.
But one of the things that, again, now going back to last week when we had Steve James on, and Steve knew you at the time. This happened after Ron and Steve had become friends.
No, this was before.
It was.
Really?
Okay.
Mike was killed in 2019. Mr. James was shot and killed in 2021. But when he started looking at things, he recognized me. He started, the co-op and the Major Case Squad did a great job for him, so he starts researching it. And then he sees me crying and doing a press conference when Officer Langsdorf passes away and gets killed in the line of duty. And so that moved him. And he's like, you know what? The Major helped me. I'm gonna do something for him.
And he painted a picture of you at the news conference, didn't he?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's just great. And then your relationship with Steve, as was documented in the show last week, you guys continue to have a great relationship. And what we want to do, and everybody heard that last week, we want to help Steve. And you're going to kind of take the lead on that. So anybody that gets in contact with us through our email,
I'll get you in contact with Steve.
We'll get you in contact with Steve, and Ron really wants to help him improve his lifestyle and improve what he can do for himself. Like John said last week, he's living on the second floor. Not very conducive when you're paralyzed from the waist down to live on the second floor.
He has a rope tied to his wheelchair that he sends down the stairs. It's insane how he has to get in and out of that place. He has a lovely wife. Her name's Shirley. She's a little bit. She can't be more than 4'10", and she's amazing as well. And she's doing a lot with Steve. Shirley works at Wash U for a doctor, and Steve will tell you he wasn't an angel in the past, but this certainly woke him up. And his favorite line, his favorite quote now is from Huey Lewis in the News, and that is, "It's hip to be square." And he always says that. He goes, "Major, it's hip to be square."
I like that.
You guys do a hell of a job, and So Steve wants to get out there. He wants to talk to people. He wants to do his thing, but his artistic ability is mind blowing, and the way that he can do it, even being paralyzed, is mind blowing. It's pretty difficult when you can't move from the waist down on how he does everything.
Right.
And we also owe Steve a debt of gratitude because we came into his house. We rearranged almost every piece of furniture.
I broke the blinds.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. We had to rearrange everything just to get the cameras and everything in there. And Steve's got birds that
We had to move the birds.
Birds
were going
had to
crazy.
be put up for a while. And, we were, we completely inconvenienced the guy. But at the end, we were trying to put his apartment back together. And we had to put a chair back out on the balcony. And Ron took the vertical blinds and just kind of, like a bull in a china shop, just pushed them, and they completely went off the track and went all over the living room. And I looked at Steve, and he just had his hand in his head.
No, did you hear? He goes, "Shirley's gonna kick your ass."
Yeah. And Ron goes, "Is this a big deal?" And Steve's like, "Yeah, it's a big deal." Because you just ruined my blinds. So
They were fixed.
Yeah, they
Okay,
were.
good.
It took a while, but they all got put back on the track, and Ron immediately offered to replace
Oh yeah,
them.
absolutely. Here's what I'd like to do for Steve, and something I've been talking to him is I want to build him a website. I want to build him. I'd like to find him. I'd like to find him a gallery. You know, I'd like to. I want to help him grow.
And we do too.
Yeah.
And maybe some of these events that we got coming up, maybe we can auction off some of his memorabilia
I think
and
that'd
some
be
of his
amazing.
paintings, and maybe we can have him paint some. I know the next, and I don't know when it's going to be, but we're going to do a mobile reserve thing, and maybe we'll have him paint up some mobile reserve stuff
Man,
and
the
auction
old
that
bread
off.
truck, the old bread truck with the dude.
We can paint
We
that
can
up.
send them by the old stations that are still standing. I think the 3rd District station's still standing. I think Deer Street's still standing. He loves painting stuff like that. He did one for a car dealership for me that I presented to a friend of mine.
Absolutely.
That's a friend of mine's the general manager at St. Charles Nissan. And he did a painting of the building, and I gave it to him. And Steve and I have done with the aspect of helping family members that lose loved ones in violence. And it's not just homicide victims, suicides, ODs, you name it. When they lose a loved one, sometimes there's a connection. You talk to the family, there's a connection. I never try to push it on somebody. If it presents itself,
Right.
I bring it up. If it doesn't present itself, I don't.
You kind of get the feeling of when somebody would want something like that, and when doesn't.
And if I feel that it's going to go that direction, I know Steve's going to come through.
And I think, and Steve does that for no money right now.
Well, we give him a few dollars to get
Out
get
of your
through.
pocket, out
Yeah,
of generosity.
right,
But
and-
we need to change that. We need
Right.
somebody to get behind Steve. And then, like John said, him and his wife want their dog painted, and
I'll do it.
And that's just something that rather than just getting a dog painted, that has meaning.
Absolutely.
Who painted that, and how they got started. So there's a story behind that painting.
Absolutely. Steve's done, I want to say about 10 of them for us. He painted a picture for the North County Police Cooperative. He painted a picture for the Major Case Squad. And he put the Major Case Squad logo and put it right in the middle of the Mississippi River. Painted the downtown skyline and then the east side. And we gave that to the executive director of the Major Case Squad as a gift for helping
That's cool.
with this case. And I want to say about 4 or 5 homicide victims we've done. We did a suicide victim. That mom really appreciated that one.
That's cool.
So it's a good thing.
Well, that was
The troop.
incredible. Trooper Ron Martin, producer John, Steve James. That's what it's all
That's
about.
what-
That
coming.
epitomizes this show.
It's coming,
That's
baby.
it.
We're gonna get a little bit more of that, and again,
law enforcement going above and beyond, and troopers got a big heart, and that was pretty damn special.
yep.
Yeah, he really, he came to me as a young policeman. It took him, a while to get going, and then he just ran from there. And he's always been a hard worker, great police report writer, just a great guy. But I'm just proud. I'm kind of proud of him just because I had to work a little extra with him, but he took it and ran with it, and he's really exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
And great guy and
A true character.
and he's
Yeah.
a character, and he's funny as can be. But he's
Exactly.
he's doing good things.
That was very powerful. Thanks for that. That was pretty awesome.
The troop, we'll hear more from him. But next, we're going to go into the Jimmy Long came in town, and Jimmy Long and JJ, as you guys will hear, were partners for 6-7 years, somewhere in that range. And Joe Speece is in the house because we had an interview with a gentleman named Jim Glennon from Caliber Press, and he does a lot of training. And as you guys have heard in the past, Joe is very passionate about training, but it just worked out that we're introducing the Jimmy Long and JJ clip, and we can have Joe kind of set this up, and we can tell some Jimmy Long and JJ stories that might not have been told. So,
Be nice.
and go ahead, Joe.
He don't remember.
Well, I guess it was. What year did you get the mobile, JJ? It was probably right at 96 or 7.
100% correct.
Yeah. So I inherited young Officer Joyner first, who was very much a work in progress at the time. Put him with a senior officer named Dickie Burgess.
Cut that out, Jack.
And JJ got switched from the senior guy who's with Dickie to Jimmy Long, who was a new kid coming out of the 7th District. And I knew Jim's dad, Jim Sr. Speaking of police families, they're a strong police family in St. Louis. So I catch little Jimmy Long, and he was little cockstrong, headstrong.
He was fast.
He was a really good young policeman who came out of North St. Louis, and he wanted to make a mark when he got here to Mobile Reserve. Put him with Jimmy, and they got in the car and started running, literally.
Yeah, he was he was a good police officer. He was fun to work with, and he was true blue. Loved the police. He's just still is. He's just came from a police family, and he backed a policeman to the hilt.
So I would also like to qualify that and tell you that I just spent Saturday afternoon 8 hours on a bass boat with Jimmy, and had a great time with him, sharing stories like
That's
this.
cool.
But he was. I've been managing people since 1995. He was one of my bigger challenges.
He's hard-headed, that's for sure.
It's going to be a good interview.
But then he worked his way up in DEA, and now he's a third-level supervisor at DEA. It's pretty high, and so he's in Washington, D.C. now, and you guys will hear a lot about that, so enjoy the interview.
Enjoy it.
Here we are. Once again, no Danny. Danny's still in Naples at the time of this recording, and then JJ showing everybody that
Danny's gone.
this is still his spot, and he ain't giving it up.
And his headphones.
He got everything.
I actually give him?
I think you want him to stay, don't you?
He can
Didn't you
stay.
say that
He can
should-
stay in Naples as long as he wants.
All right.
I can
all
see
right.
him in the TV. It's good. Looks
So
good.
we have with us Jimmy Long, and you guys have heard Jimmy Long's name on numerous previous shows, and that's because he was JJ's partner for 6 years in Mobile Reserve, and one of the more memorable stories was when Jimmy decided to get all busted up after Bob Stanzi's before the Bob Stanzi's funeral, and everybody will remember that story from Steve Dodge's episode.
His irresponsibility.
Best
Yes.
episode. Best episode.
That was a
It
cool
was a good
episode,
episode.
wasn't it?
But it's
We've had some good ones, but
Yeah,
that's my
absolutely.
favorite.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But Jimmy came, and Jimmy is now with the DEA. Has been for how long?
18 years.
18. Oh, God
God, time
damn.
flies.
You ain't
Yeah,
kidding.
I'm thinking if you guys are telling stories about stuff prior to 18 years, we might need some new stories.
Well, that's all we got, dude. You got to go with what you
We're
got.
talking about me and you.
We
man.
are old.
We got a lot of stories, but
We sure do.
Yeah, we're going to get into some of those.
couple.
But Jimmy's in town for the Mike Caruso golf tournament, which is will
Monday?
probably be it's Monday from now, but
Right.
once
Right.
this airs, it'll be a little bit
The
in
20th.
the past. But Jimmy flew in town for that. We always have a ball at that tournament, or everybody does, and
Amen.
welcome Jimmy, and I wanted to get into your guys. Let's just get into the partnership first.
Let me just tell you, the first time we met though was it was a soccer trip in Canada, and we were never partners then. We
No.
became friends on the soccer trip, and then I won't get into any of those stories because those can't be probably told. But no, and then he came, and I was in Mobile ahead of him, and then he came in. He was tight with his dad, and Joe Spees were partners at one time, and then Jimmy came in, became my partner. And we had so much fun. And I remember I don't even know what it was, but one of the first days, Joe Spees is our sergeant. We pull up to a gas station, and he and I are crying, laughing. I don't even remember what we were talking. You remember this?
Yeah.
We were crying, laughing. I don't know what was said or what was done, but we were laughing. And Spees pulls up next to us, and I look over, and we're laughing our ass off. We look over, and he's looking at us with disgust, and he goes, "You should never have this much fun working as a policeman."
That's good.
That was good. It was funny.
We had
But
it was our sayings. We were going over our sayings that we.
do you remember that?
What sayings? You guys had sayings?
I don't.
Not
remember.
our sayings, things that we heard.
So JJ was a
People.
Zen back in the day too.
Yes. No.
Oh, not
Yeah,
those
ju-
kind of sayings. It's
Oh.
like funny quotes, like you were saying a minute ago.
Yes, we were the things we were
People-
talking about on the air.
Funny things that prisoners say.
Yes.
Right, and we had one of the things we did when we worked wires was keep track of some of the funnier stuff that was said on the wire, and we would write it down on a whiteboard. And one of the ones that I just recalled for some reason stuck out is "Shut the fuck up and eat your cereal," which is what one of the fathers who was a drug dealer said to his kid who was.
That's good parenting.
Yeah, exactly. Shut the fuck up and eat your cereal.
Just
It is
like his
sound.
little JJ spot there, we had it on the dashboard, and we were writing it. and we had it right there, and we would check it. We were reading it off, and we were
then-
adding to it at that time.
So you guys would. Oh, so you were adding one? Do you remember what it was?
Oh,
No.
Shit, I don't
Not
even
that I can-
remember that part of it. So that's how long ago that was. But we had a lot of fun together, and actually Jimmy became just a good, family friend. My brothers, he's friends with my brothers. He's been on trips with me and Michael to Alabama, and he's become part of the family. But then he moved. He goes to DEA, trying to be a big shot, and goes to 4 years. Learns what's the language in Istanbul?
Turkish.
Turkish. He learns to speak Turkish.
Yeah. So he went
Pretty
to.
impressive.
You were in Istanbul for how long?
Almost 5 years.
And then part of that though.
So
you
I think we should go back. Like I did start. We did start in '93. Worked 12 years, 7 with JJ, 6, 7 with JJ. Did MOVP with you for a
Nice.
year. That was fun. And then that's when DEA called, and went over to Colorado Springs, then over to Istanbul for a couple years, then Chicago, Tucson, and now I'm in Washington D.C.
Jimmy, did you put in for DEA, or did they just call you and recruit you?
Yeah, I wish.
And because he's my partner, we were making such great cases, and they took him. They thought he was the team leader of the car,
All right.
car commander.
I get it.
Yeah, whatever. The Mr. Riley, Joe Cronin, they were a big part of that. Tom Bottini's the one
Hey.
who got me in the front door.
He helped.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely later on, but
How
during the
how they quickly
application
forget.
process.
No, yeah, it was a fun process, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Mr. Riley and Joe Cronin had something to do with it all, and it was a lot of people did.
Right.
Yeah.
And any time you get a job like that, you do need a little help every once in a while from different friends and along the way, and it was awesome.
Well,
I was just glad to get a new partner.
I'm sure I was wearing on you. I know.
Well, he got crabby at the end, brother. He was ready.
He's ready to go.
He was ready to go. But and then
That's
Steve
true.
Dodge actually rode 3 deep. So Dodge is driving in the car on 70, Highway 70, and we're in a pursuit. And Jimmy's in the back seat, and we're going, and it's traffic, and it's a good pursuit. It's going westbound on 70 from downtown, and this idiot keeps saying, Dodge. I'm hoping he was kidding. He keeps going, ram him, Dodge, ram him. And we don't have ramming cars, dude. I mean, this is more like
It would have been a Dodge Ram.
yeah. So I kept telling Jimmy to shut the F up. I go, shut the fuck up. Dodge, don't ram him. And he's straddling the back seat. He goes, Dodge, ram him. And I to this day don't know if he was actually being serious or not. But
So he was all huddled up in the middle.
he was in the middle with
With his head
and he's
up.
yelling in the front seat. And I keep telling him to shut the fuck up, put his seatbelt on.
I was living in the moment.
You thought it was a good idea at the time,
He
right?
did think it was a good idea.
I don't
and
think
did
it was.
not.
It wasn't an approved move.
No,
But
no,
it's an
none.
understandable move.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm down with it.
He was-
I was going to tell the Dodge story where we were riding 3 deep, and we'd all saw the rest go down, and we're walking them into prisoner processing, and we were trying to decide who was going to write the report. And we did the
Paper, scissors.
rock
Right.
paper scissors, and we're doing that, and it's like, all right, who's going to write? And then we're all doing rock paper scissors, so we're doing it in front of the suspect, and he's like, God damn, this is my life we're talking about. And you all playing rock, paper, scissors.
That was a good one.
That's good. That is good.
Oh man.
A couple quick questions. So, who was a better driver?
I don't.
Come on.
I was a more conservative driver. I did not.
So you're saying Jimmy was a better driver?
Well, he was a crazier driver, if that's what you want to know. Because
I think that's fair assessment.
I do not like pursuits when I'm not driving. And I think he had this fantasy of dying in a fiery police crash someday, and people say,
With the
Jim
advice he
Long,
was
he
given?
died in a fiery police crash, because he would go balls to the wall, and I just didn't like it.
As a passenger?
No, as a driver. I don't like being in the passenger when he was driving. I'll just say
Nobody
that.
likes being a passenger in a
No,
pursuit,
it
dude.
sucks,
No,
dude.
you
That
don't have any
doesn't-
control.
No.
Now, how about you? Obviously, you
I
were
don't
digging
mind.
it.
He don't
you were
mind.
digging it with
He's
the ram
telling Dodge to
'em.
ram him. I'm
Right.
like, what, you lost your mind, dude?
Right.
We got to get our guy.
People, I mean, being in a pursuit, I think, is you get tunnel vision, very bad, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But
I kept him out of
but
tunnel
you can
vision.
see streets. You can see certain things that you focus on very well. Because I can remember being in them, and the streets you would call off to let everybody know where you're at were very focused, and everything was just tunnel vision. And then, but when you're in them, and you feel in complete control when you're driving. you're like, hey, no big deal. I got this.
Exactly.
But if you're the passenger,
Sucks.
you can't press on your brake enough.
No.
You can't say whoa enough. You can't say
I trust
look
my
out
partner.
enough.
No,
Right.
like, hey, watch the car. Watch it. Hey, wait.
No, it is
Nonstop.
intense. And being a passenger absolutely sucks.
That
So,
does.
Jay, so if that's the situation, you want Jimmy Long driving in pursuits?
No, fuck no. I want me to drive in that pursuit.
All right.
All you gotta do is keep them in sight. You ain't gotta be on their ass.
All right. Who had the better eye on the street?
Yeah, I'll go with JJ.
JJ?
But then, what would JJ do after he saw something?
Just tell you.
He said, "Go get that guy."
Jason, yeah,
He was better than the canine dog. Get him, Jimmy.
Jimmy, you had wheels back in the
I
day?
did. Well, I had wheels, and then he came along and showed me he had better wheels.
So you just instructed him what to do?
Yeah, go get him, Jimmy. But that's actually brings to a funny story. We were in the I think it was the 5800 block of Enright. And it was I don't know if you remember this story.
That
You'll
was
remember.
the first arrest.
No.
Yes.
Well, let me finish the story and see if it's still the first arrest. So we like getting in vacant houses and watch it. So I say, hey, let's get
We've
in.
heard.
So yeah, I'm tell that story. So we get in this vacant house. We hide our car in this alley, and so we go in this vacant house, and we're upstairs. And he decides to walk. He decides to walk out of the house and just to go mosey around. And all of a sudden, I hear, "I got one, Jimmy. He's running, whatever." So I'm like, "Oh shit, I gotta run down the steps." So I'm running down to help him. And I hit these steps that have like moss on it, and I bite it, dude. My feet go above my head. I hit these steps, man. It hurt. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh. And all of a sudden, he goes, "I need a little help around here."
So do I.
He's fighting. I'm like, oh shit. So he's fighting with this guy underneath a big, I know his trees, branches hanging out like a fir tree or something. And I just remember running up and then just knocking the dude down. You know, him and Jimmy were fighting on the ground. And we took care of it. We got him into custody and made a good arrest. But I just remember him just saying, "Need a little help over here?" And I'm moaning on the steps saying, I think I threw my back's broke.
My back.
My back. That was funny.
Now, one of the interesting cases that you guys handled that I remembered was there was an officer, Brian Hale, that was shot in Florissant.
Do you know this was coming?
And and Brian, he'll be on the show. He's going to come on and get interviewed.
Good guy.
But one of the things
Unlucky
he talked
fellow.
about.
Unlucky fellow.
Twice in his career.
One of the guys you guys arrested was the guy that shot Brian, and just take us through that and how that went down.
Well, it's a manhunt like we had before, and O'Toole was the lieutenant at the time, and
Yes.
there was a bunch of leads on where he was staying and where he was going, and so it was just we already checked out all the houses we thought he was, and we were pretty much our wits' end. So they decided Colonel O'Toole, retired Lieutenant Colonel, assistant chief or whatever, he was our lieutenant, and so we were all gathering around. He says, "We're going to start over. We're going to go all the houses we got. We're going to go check these houses out again." And they gave everybody like a couple houses, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And we were assigned to a couple of ex-detectives from
Out in the county.
county.
somewhere.
Yeah, so they were with us, and they don't know anything about the city. So we're looking around, and we're kind of going through the motions. And so I remember we knocked on a house in the Fifth. It was 59. What was his name?
It was what?
What was the ad? You remember the address?
4225. I don't remember what street it was. Like North Florissant or something.
Yeah. So we go knocking on the door. We're knocking on this door of a flat, 4-family flat or 2-family flat, and this lady comes up, and she's, I don't want to call her a crackhead, but I think
She appeared to do crack.
I think she's done crack her a time or two. So she comes up and goes, "That's my house. That's my house." And was like, "Hey, we're looking for such and such." I don't even, you remember his name? I don't remember his name. You can tell us the name. We can say his name.
Paul Carruthers.
Oh yeah, you're right. 100%. That is right. So we asked. Hey,
Thanks for verifying that,
yeah.
JJ.
Yeah. Well, that rings a bell. Thanks, Jimmy, for helping me remember. But anyway, we're waiting, and she's like, she comes up. We're looking for Paul Carruthers, and she's like, "Oh, I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks." I'm like, "When was he last time?" Or she goes, "I haven't seen him in a while." I go, "When was he here last?" And he goes, "Well, he was here yesterday." I'm like,
A couple weeks.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, yesterday." I go, "We just want to go search your house and make sure he's not in there." And she was all cool. We had her sign a consent to search, and we go up in the house, and it's kind of like it was a vacant. There's like anything. There was no furniture or anything in there, and so we just kind of walking through, going through motions. I walk past Jimmy, and I go into the kitchen. There's nothing in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I hear him in the hallway yelling, "Let me see your hands." And so he's yelling. So I run up next to him. We're shoulder to shoulder. Our tactics were horrible. It was probably before we were. I was definitely before we ever went to SWAT. Actually,
Yeah, it was.
so we were shoulder to shoulder in the closet, yelling at him. He's sitting down. You can't see him. There's clothes hanging down from the in the closet, and you can see his feet, and he's saying, "Let me see your hands." And I go, "Let me see your hands." And he jumps up and he grabs my pistol, and so he's grabbing my pistol, trying to get it away from me, and I was just say. Jimmy decided that this is too serious. He's got the barrel of my gun, and Jimmy shoots him, and doesn't kill him, but shoots him in the side, and we drag him out. And that's probably all we want to get in the depth of that. But but it was a good arrest, and Brian Hale has appreciated us ever since.
I didn't know Brian Hale, and
we
didn't know.
No.
But we were at some award ceremony later on, long time after that all happened, and it was the coolest thing though. I was walking by, and I saw Hale. I was like, "Are you Brian? Brian Hale?" And then I was like, "Oh, dude, it's just great to meet you." And he's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And we shook hands, and then somebody, I don't know, saw and then took a great photo. So I still have this photo of me and Brian meeting for the first time, shaking hands.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I know I talked to Eric Lanham, and Eric's tight with him, and I know that, and I told him we were going to interview you guys, and then we wanted that story too. So
awesome.
So he's going to come on and tell that story, and like you said, he had 2 incidents in the same spot, or damn near the same spot that were pretty serious incidents.
It's unreal.
And he had his K9 dog, and we're looking forward to having him on too. But what else you guys got? You guys got some more. What do you got? You guys. So who was who had the worst temper? It's not even debatable.
Right, but that's why we're so great, though. It's like yin
I was
and
a
yang.
calming influence, but
Good cop, bad
what's
cop.
that? Yeah, it's flip flop. I have anger issues now, brother. I've changed my way.
Right. You're going to be a honk. You didn't honk a whole lot back in
I'm
mobile?
just talking, and just in general. I don't deal well with young kids at soccer stadium or at the baseball stadium. I just cannot deal with disrespect anymore. Not that I do anything wrong, but I got a temper.
But your temper's worser?
I have no patience. They get handcuffed way
Seems
quicker.
like Jimmy's temper's gotten better, though.
Well, yeah, he's living the life, man.
That's true.
Turkey.
I'm
One of the
worldly now.
things you did, one of the things you did do as part of the turkey thing is you had to go to 9 months of language school, correct?
Yes.
How hard was that?
Hardest thing I ever did in
I
my
think it
life.
took him 2 years.
I mean, that's in Turkish probably. I'm guessing it's not easy.
And yeah, the hardest part is like I've never been exposed to any Turkish whatsoever. It's like if any of us had to go to Spanish, we've all experienced a little Spanish through Telemundo or
Duolingo.
yeah, it's easy, or certain movies are in Spanish and stuff if you watch Narcos. But you know what I'm saying? So you could kind of pick that up, and it's sort of similar to English. Or there's some English words that you can kind of figure out. There's nothing similar about Turkish.
And I heard that one of the hardest ones.
Russian is up there, and Mandarin.
I would
Mandarin.
that's Chinese.
All the tonal, the tonal languages like Vietnamese and.
No, how's
Thai.
your Turkish now? You haven't been there for a long time.
Actually, I just went there last month and picked it up. Or a lot of it came back pretty easily.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So when you're down there, when you first get there, is it hard to hold a conversation? Would they consider you somebody after 9 months of school, somebody that speaks, like we consider it, broken English? Would you speak broken Turkish?
For someone who would be labeled as an academic, yes. This guy, no.
Right. Okay.
I'm not great with. I wasn't the best language.
How about understanding? Easier to understand?
No, it's easier to speak for me actually, because when you're understanding, they're talking so fast and you're trying to. All right, I heard this word, I translated, but now they're 6 words further now, and you
So
missed,
you're way behind in the conversation.
Do you find is it like in
That's
Spanish?
like Jimmy on the podcast.
but Spanish, I dabble in Spanish, and I find it easier to write it.
Yes.
So is it the same way?
Yeah, reading is of course no problem, or
Right,
writing it
right.
out is because you take time.
Right.
Hey, Jimmy, what do they call a quarter pounder with cheese and turkey?
A royal cheese. No.
Yeah.
No, they do have a lot of McDonald's, and fried chicken or
Pulp
Kentucky
Fiction.
Fried Chicken is a big one.
Okay.
I want to go back just a little bit. You dabble in Spanish. What does you dabble in Spanish
I
mean?
do.
Come on,
I have
please
a-
enlighten me.
I got an app called Duolingo, and it's Spanish. You can pick whatever language, and it's like
I
a
heard
game.
you threw that out earlier.
It's a game.
I didn't know what you were talking
Yeah, it's
about.
a game that you can play, and you learn Spanish.
What's the one? The stone or the
Oh,
language?
Rosetta
Rosetta
Stone.
Stone.
Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone.
You dabble in that at all?
No.
Or you just stick
No,
with
I got a free.
Duolingo?
I use a free app and try it. And play
All
with
right.
it. But
Now, when you say dabble, explain what dabble means. Like
when I
you
go-
quiz yourself and shit.
I play. It's like a game, dude. I'll show you after we get off the air. And I actually.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's actually a cool little game. My brother, Dick, who's on fire.
Can you say that in Spanish? Dick's on fire.
He's like a top 1%. He's got people that follow him on the app.
Because
fluent.
he's that dual.
He's very we went to Costa Rica and he actually talked with all the waitresses, and I mean he's unreal. But he does it
learned that on Duolingo,
Michael
huh?
Michael knows it because Michael has Duolingo on his phone too. But yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got one more story, and I told the story about the house that we got into, and they were selling PCP, and they ended up burning it down.
Right.
So they didn't burn it down good enough because we wanted to go back in there. And Jimmy says, "Hey man, I'm going to go in this time. You always go in the house and whatever." So I said, "All right." So he goes in this house and he's going to watch him sell PCP. So he goes in there and I think nothing about it. It's like 20, 25 minutes. Finally, he calls out a deal that went down, and we end up having our cars pull it over and making an arrest. So I pick him up from the alley. He goes, "Man, that sucked, dude." I go, "Why? You did a good job." He goes, "No." He says, "As soon as I got in the house, some old dude walked up and they said, 'Man, we ain't selling you shit. Go inside and see if any cops are in that vacant house.'" So this old dude walks in the house and confronts Jimmy. Jimmy makes him sit there on the ground next to him and tell him not to move. He stays there for 20 more minutes until he can get a deal. That's dedication, dude.
It is.
Until you can watch a deal.
Yeah, so he waited. If that was me in the house and the guy caught me, I'd be, I'm caught. Dude, or whatever. And I would have left. He goes, sit down, dude. You shut up. Don't say nothing. I got to finish this. And so he sat in the house with this crackhead or PCP guy and sat there while he watched and finally got an arrest.
That's a good one.
You
Now
wanna
give us one on JJ.
You want to elaborate that at all?
No, that's good. That's a good story. You did well.
All right, that was a good one.
Best pursuit.
Oh, we can. We have some good ones, but
I got one for Jimmy over there. We were in the MVOP and we were looking for
you know where he's going?
a white
Columbo?
Cadillac. We were looking for a white Cadillac. That was just tearing up. It was just tearing up the South Side on robberies. And we always said shit happens at midnight. And right at midnight, Jimmy and Mark Biondelino jump a Cadillac. And like, we're behind that Cadillac. And
Did you have gas that night?
well, we had gas because I got over there. And so they're chasing this Cadillac around. Everybody's thinking it's the Cadillac, the white Cadillac that's wanted. And or was it a yellow one?
Well, we wanted white. But
Right.
this one
Whatever
might
it
have been
was.
yellow
one of
that night.
whatever it was wanted is that. So that this pursuit goes on all over the place. And at the end of it was a typical pursuit ending where, 900 copper cars are there. It's in Illinois, well into Illinois. And Speece was our boss. And he pulls his rental car up. It's like a rental SUV of some sort, and pulls around all the police cars on the grass to get right up next to the scene. Well, at the end of the pursuit, the suspect had incurred some injuries and he was bleeding. And but Speece had pulled all the way up and he wants to walk up to the scene because he's the commander, which he should. Well, in the meantime, me and Schwerb and a couple other people had gotten a prisoner. We weren't there for the end of it. So it was actually just me, and I don't know who the other one was, but Schwerb comes in later in the story, and he's by the car. And so we put the prisoner into Spieth's car because he was the first city car we knew, and we knew it, and we just like, all right, we got to put this guy in this car.
It's a good move.
So, but Spieth is walking up to the Cadillac, and like I said, it was a white Cadillac that was wanted for this crime. And this car was yellow as could be. This particular Cadillac was yellow. And Spieth walks up and he looks at Schwerb and he goes, "Schwerb, what color is that Cadillac?" Schwerb just put his head down and walked away. Because you didn't even answer me. What color is that Cadillac? He just kept on walking. So yeah, that was one of the ones. And we had a lot of fun in the MVOP too.
Well,
I know you were down there shortly,
great.
but it was fun.
Well, obviously the guy was up to something. He wouldn't have been running from the police.
Yeah. I do think they found a gun in the car. I'm almost positive, or gun or dope.
I
Something.
don't remember anything about that story.
That's a good answer, Jimmy. That's a good. One of the things we did in the MVOP, we had a building, and even before you came down there, you were in mobile, and anytime we all worked 6 to 2 together, we would all come back to the MVOP office
Yeah.
to write reports. Everybody would save their reports, and we'd all hang out and write reports.
Play ping pong.
Play ping pong and do some other things, and yeah, it was fun. And what else you got, James? What are you up to while you're in town?
We got the St. Mary's Bash tournament and the Ozarks this weekend, and then I'll be back for Caruso's golf tournament after that.
Yep. And then you're seeing your mom and dad, both
Of course.
longtime members of the police department and now
Yep.
retired.
And the 2 brothers who are still current police officers in the city.
What do you got planned? Any good family outings, or you just eating dinner at mom and dad's house?
Yeah, just eating dinner and hanging out with you all.
Your mom's still cooking some dynamite dinners?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of our highlights when we rode together.
Oh, yeah.
We'd ride together, and Jimmy would say, "Hey, my mom's cooking." She lived right there, a rock throw from our office. So we'd go over there and eat. We ate there numerous times.
Take your 40 there?
That was our
Wasn't that the
lunch
40?
break. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
yeah,
great.
40 is the
She's a
code
great
for
cook. She's
getting something to eat.
unbelievable cook. I'll
Yes, she
say.
was.
So yeah, that was a big part of our partnership. That's why I liked him. Free meals.
All right. Appreciate you coming by, Jimmy. And
I thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jim.
I don't know why I deserve to be on here because I don't know any popes or princes or no
You know
El
JJ, though.
Chapos or anything, but I
we were
appreciate you
partners.
being on here.
And how long were we partners?
7 years.
7 years. I knew he knew the right answer.
Yeah.
Brad
Yeah.
Owens says I was partners with him for 6. So
Yeah, I definitely
beat
beat
Brad.
that Brad Owens guy.
And Brad's coming on. We're gonna have Brad on real soon too.
Good. I just want to say you guys are doing great work. This is awesome. I'm so glad you guys do it. For me, not living here, it feels like that I'm with you guys all the time. So it remedies my homesickness now and then. But I think it's good to get that message out to everybody. I will say this, that I've met cops, with all my travels and all my different assignments, that I meet cops from all these different departments all over the world. Even though I was in Turkey, I was still in charge of Bulgaria and Romania and Armenia and Georgia.
He's the reason we got all these foreign listeners, dude. Thank you.
He's our recruiter.
But my point is, I meet all these cops, and they're all exactly the same. They're just good guys who just want to do the right thing and earn a living and take care of their communities. A few of us stray now and then, but that's very, very small.
few and far
percentage.
between.
Yeah,
And they're not the ones that we're really worried about.
Wow. Jimmy Long's been around the world, DEA law enforcement.
Moving up in the world.
I think Jimmy's responsible for a lot of our overseas listeners.
Yes, I believe so.
So Joe, tell that in the interview I mentioned the the white and yellow Cadillac, and what I forgot to mention is when we put them in your car, and when you got in your car, what did you see?
Blood. And a brand new police car.
It was actually it was a not a rental but a lease car.
Right.
And then when you went to turn it in, they kind of said, "Hey, something might have happened here."
Right.
So I thought that was funny.
Why was he bleeding?
Well, he's involved in a resisting change. Oh, okay. There was a chase that went well into Illinois.
I wasn't there.
No, you weren't, because that's when he worked with us.
Oh, I know.
Do you think any
That's
of
why I
our,
asked.
do you think any of our stories, when there's a pro law enforcement podcast in 2097, do you think they'll have a newsroom.com?
They'll still be talking about mine.
We talk about 2024.
Some things are
2024.
timeless.
This dude.
Some things are timeless.
Well, for sure there'll be 4 guys sound asleep.
That ain't right.
Sorry.
All right.
Producer John, I'm sorry.
Always remember, communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live.
Peace.
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 Out.
You guys are dicks.